Don't attack without a lead in development. If you don't have a lead in development, don't try to sacrifice all your pieces for an attack. You'll shoot yourself in the foot. In this position, for example, you might take this pawn to bring the king out in the open. However, what are you going to do next? If you check the king with the queen, black will just block it with the pawn, and that will be the end of it. In this position, however, white already has 2 pieces out while black has none. If you're feeling spicy, this is a much better situation to sacrifice. After the bishop gets captured, you can follow up with a knight check. If your opponent is not careful, things will go down real quick.
Why are we charging in? We don't even have enough troops.
Relax, I got this.
When opponent delays castling, open up the position. If your opponent keeps trying to attack on the wing, and your king has castled, you should strike back in the center and make the opponent's king naked. In this position, black is trying to shove these pawns down white's throat. He forgets to castle though. So white's best move is pawn to d5, attacking both the knight and the pawn. If black takes the pawn, now the king is in the open. White can follow up with a check, and then keep pressuring the pin on e7. Black is toasted. Spot weak squares. Whenever a pawn is pushed, it leaves behind some weak squares. Identify them and take advantage. In this position, black plays pawn to g6. This move makes the f6 and h6 squares very weak, as no pawns can defend those squares anymore. White immediately take advantage, and this knight is targeting holes. A hole is a square that can no longer be controlled by any friendly pawns. When you play g3 for example, the pawn no longer defends h3, and there are no other pawns that could fulfill that job. When your opponent has holes in their position, it's a good idea to put a knight there to blockade the pawn. Black's position is cramped as f***, and if you can put your queen here while it's protected, that'd be KO.
Should have watched your step!
Keep up the momentum. Keeping up the momentum means shoving moves down your opponent's throat so they don't have time to breathe and die. In chess, this means giving checks or threatening checkmates constantly, so they have no choice but to react. In this position, white first sacrifices the bishop to deliver a check. Then he gives a check with the knight, forcing the king to move. White then threatens checkmate, and the game ends in a forced checkmate in 5 moves. Exposed enemy king. If your enemy's king is exposed, sometimes you can just checkmate them.
Watch. G4. Get the bishop out.
I'm just gonna play simple chess. I'm just putting my pawn in the center of the board. Nothing
Okay.
secret.
I move my... She's not gonna see this fucking coming.
Flat.
In this position, even though black is up 2 knights and a rook, the black king is too exposed, which leads to a forced checkmate in 3 moves. In this position, however, black king is super safe and cozy. So sacrificing all pieces to go all in for an attack is a very, very bad idea.
No, not my bath time.
Take away castling right. At the start of each game, each side is given a chance to castle. If the king ever moves though, no more castling baby. So try to make him move. In this position, white can deliver a check on f6. The king has to move, and now he's gonna stay in the center for a long time. White can follow up by pushing pawns to rip open the center and smash the black king. Opposite side castling leads to attacks from both sides. When the 2 players castle opposite side, whoever shoves their pawns in their opponent's faster will win the attack. In this position, white's pawns are more advanced, so black's attack is too late. Once the h-file is opened, it's basically game over for black. A rule of thumb is if your pawns are more advanced, and you have pieces aiming towards the opponent's king, you should go for the attack and smash your opponent. If your attack is slower than your opponent, however, it's a better idea to buy this and take classes from Hans Niemann. Don't attack without advantages. If you want to attack, make sure you have lead in development, control of the center, an exposed enemy king, or ideally, all 3.
Are you sure we should attack?
Nah, just let the pawn die.
No common checkmate patterns. There's nothing worse than playing a series of brilliant moves, sacrificing lots of pieces, and getting to a forced checkmate sequence, only to not realize it and blunder. If you want to master the art of attacking, make sure you first master the art of mating. Use all your pieces. If you have a piece that's just chilling in the back, you're likely doing it wrong. Use all your pieces and thank me later.
Guys, I told you, you gotta bring everybody to the party. You gotta bring them all to the party.
Don't attack without control of the center. If you have good control of the center, it is a great time to attack. In this position, white can harass black with his pawn and kick the knights back to passive squares. After that, he can follow up with some more attacks, and black is absolutely toasted. On the other hand, if you have no control over the center, attacking is a bad idea. Remove key defenders. Removing key defenders is a tactical idea where you focus on eliminating the pieces that are crucial in defending the opponent's king, or a critical point in their position. For example, in this position, black's knight is the only piece that's defending g7. White sacrifices the rook and delivers a devastating checkmate. Rule of +2. To ensure a successful attack against the enemy's king, you should bring at least 2 more attacking pieces than your opponent's defending pieces. In this position, black plays pawn to c4, attacking the bishop. Any low elo brain player would move the bishop out of the way, but unfortunately for black, his opponent is Gotham Chess.
But then he got hit with a thunderbolt. I mean, remember, it's 4-0 at this point, so bishop takes h6.
Gotham realizes that white has 4 attacking pieces compared to basically 0 defenders for black, so he sacrifices the bishop. Black takes, but now Levy threatens checkmate in 1, and after one more move, black is absolutely toasted. Easier to attack than defend. Just like how it's always easier to throw punches than block them, it's also easier to smash your opponent than get smashed. In this position, white sacrifices a freaking bishop and then another knight. Despite being down on 2 pieces, white wins this position 50% of the time. This is because white has a very aggressive attacking plan, which makes black more likely to blunder. Certain openings are better for attacking. Certain openings in chess are just much better for attacking players. For example, the Evans Gambit is a much more aggressive opening for white, compared to, say, the London system. For black, I recommend playing the King's Indian Defense, as this is Hikura Nakamura's favorite opening, besides the legendary Bong Cloud. Needs to learn basic tactics. There is one requirement when executing an attack. You need to have a brain. For example, let's say you've sacrificed all your pieces to get into this position. If your brain can't see the obvious checkmate in 130, there's no hope for you. Seriously though, while attacking, there are situations like this where you are down an entire rook. To secure the win, you do need to find the beautiful queen sacrifice, queen to f8, and then deliver the final blow with your knight. If you can't, well, you're Create open lines or diagonals. Having closed files makes it harder to attack than if the files are open or semi-open. In general, when you're attacking, you should aim to create open lines or diagonals towards the enemy king. In this position, white needs to open up this file, so he sacrifices his knight, black innocently takes, and it's checkmate in 3 moves. Identify weak color complex. Whenever most of your opponent's pawns are in one color, the other color is weak. In this position, most of the black pawns are on white squares, and the black square bishop is gone. This means that this entire diagonal near the king is weak, and in this case, checkmate is unstoppable. The attack doesn't have to end in checkmate. Remember, not every attack needs to end in checkmate. Sometimes, sacrificing a queen to get a chance to play en passant is enough. Other times, if you can just win back a rook or a queen, that might be enough compensation for you to win the game pretty easily. Going back to this example, even though there's no immediate checkmate, white gains back the knight and bishop, as well as 2 extra pawns. If you can't win this position, you should quit chess. Develop pieces with a threat. It's good to develop your pieces. It's even better to develop it without losing a tempo. In this position, black grabs a pawn. This move unfortunately allows white to develop his rook while attacking the queen, followed by another crushing move, knight to e4, attacking both the knight and bishop at the same time. Black takes the knight, falling right into a nasty discovery check, and it's game over. Have courage. Finally, you need courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's seeing the absence of multiple of your pieces, and still chilling. When attacking in chess, you might see several pieces disappear from the board, but still need to keep your cool and play good moves. That's why attacking chess is not for the faint of heart. Take risks, sacrifice all your pieces, and lose the game.
What the f*** is this?
Wakanda forever!